Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Big Freaking Friday show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my partners in crime, and they're not in their right places, so I'm going to move Moen where he rightfully belongs. That would be Wild Ute and Moen. How you guys doing tonight?
Let's go. Happy Friday.
I agree. Yep, it's been a busy week for a lot of reasons, and certainly we're going to cover quite a few of those reasons tonight in the show. But it's always great to see you guys. I'm glad everybody's doing well. The shows I had this week were, if nothing else, entertaining, and I think that's there's some stuff in there we can also cover tonight. So I appreciate everybody being here on a Friday evening. I'm not sure there's a lot of competition outside of Greg Flugaur peek around the corner right this second. But who knows when he'll be popping off. So I appreciate everybody being here with us regardless. And hope that everybody really just buckles up for an hour and a half and sits with us. And hopefully we entertain as it goes. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on, or sorry, turn on your notifications on Twitter and on YouTube. And last but not least, consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia family. Moen, how do they do that?
To join the College Football Mafia family in a world, you would click the little cash icon down there in the chat window. From there, you can leave a super chat, a super sticker, become a member, or gift memberships. We've had quite a few gifted memberships this week. We want to thank those people. Welcome to the College Football Mafia family to those that were gifted. And if anybody else would feel like giving a gift, would be much appreciated.
And let's talk about what they get if their membership is renewed there, Ute. What do they have in store for them between member? What are all the member benefits they can look to?
Yeah, well, you have emojis in the chat during live streams. You have member-only live streams. We got one coming up this Thursday, Moan. Moan's a prep this. This is going to be good stuff. Tell everybody about it, Moan. What's going on this Thursday?
Absolutely. This Thursday, first Capo Cabana Live, we're going to do a members-only live stream crowning the ideal Big Ten candidates. We've got all the ACC candidates. We've got the Big 12 candidates in there as well. I believe it's 16 total candidates. So we've got Texas Tech in there. We've got TCU in there. We've got North Carolina. We've got Virginia. We've got Duke. We've got pretty much anybody who has been rumored to the Big Ten. We have them in this presentation breaking it all down for you.
While we're there, let's talk about membership videos and what we do on the membership angle. We have the live events, like Moan was just describing. We also have members-only videos that come out that cover everything that has to do with realignment, college, the business of college sports, and all points in between. Certainly, we've had some fun ones that have been in the last week or two. You want to talk about this Carolina Reaper ACC report?
Carolina Reaper here. So this was if you're a member and you haven't seen Carolina Reaper, you must see it. This explains exactly why UNC is going to bounce from the ACC and go to what I think is going to be the SEC. That's where they've largely been rumored. It makes a ton of sense. The Big Ten will take its swing, but the SEC is in right now the driver's seat. So the Carolina Reaper shows the financial ramifications of UNC making the move to the SEC, and even factors in a little Wolfpack backpack tax, guys. They can afford a little Wolfpack backpack tax, and I think that we're going to hear more and more about that. Look, it's just based on – I haven't heard that anywhere or anything else, but, I think that we're looking at a case in North Carolina like in California where there was calimony. I think there's going to be a Wolfpack backpack tax, and I think UNC is going to be able to afford paying NC State going out the door to the SEC or the Big Ten.
And does that assume then that North Carolina State does not hitch a ride with North Carolina as they go to either the Big Ten or the SEC?
100%. North Carolina State is not a Big Ten or SEC school. It's just not. It hasn't been on this since inception of this conversation. North Carolina State has two options, and that's to remain in the ACC or move to the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is the fit for the Wolfpack. Love to have them. And in addition to some Wolfpack backpack tax, I think they're going to be fine. I think they would actually compete really well in the Big 12 conference, but they are not the type of profile of a SEC or Big Ten school, and they do not. A double whammy with UNC and NC State does not make financial sense for anyone to add. So it's just not very realistic in my view.
I would tend to agree with you, Mo. And you want to add anything to that?
No, I've mentioned it several times. I think North Carolina State, excuse me, will be taken care of by North Carolina. But yeah, I don't think they're going to follow North Carolina to whatever conference they go to.
Well, that's not necessarily always been what you've believed. You've talked about them before.
That's not.
Places.
That's not. I've heard from higher sources than myself on what could be happening there. So
you're pretty certain now at this point.
I reserve the right to change my mind.
Okay.
So,
all right. That's
fair. Right.
I'm just saying, like a month ago, you were saying some completely different. So
it was about 2 months ago, but yes, I believe in Wolfpack backpack, but I also believe you can cut the straps on a backpack.
Okay. Well, there you go. I think
that's full of cash.
Definitely.
That's full of cash.
All right. Well, let's jump in and immediately get into the hellos, and then we'll jump into the story for for tonight's show is going to be our Memphis, Tulane, USF, Texas State, Sacramento State, whoever else going to be possibly moving to the Pac-12. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Let's do some shout-outs, shall we?
Sure.
As we get this thing building tonight. Nathan Campbell's first in the house, says, hey guys, good to have you here. Carrie D checking in, saying adding those 3 schools would be huge. I'm trying to think of what those 3 schools are. I see 4 schools listed up there. So what do you think Carrie's talking about?
I think the AAC schools, the American schools,
okay.
Memphis, Tulane, and USF. We're going to get all into that, y'all. Yeah, if the Pac-12 added those 3 schools, it would be huge. I'm 100% in agreement.
Okay. All right. Daniel Gygax, contributor extraordinaire, but recently put a new video up on the short videos menu. You can catch that if you tune in and go to our main channel and look for that. But he says, hi, everyone. Good to have you here, Daniel. Thanks for all the work you do. Day One Rob, I think maybe new. Is Day One Rob new for you guys as well?
I think I've seen him on Moan After Dark.
Have you? Okay. Well, welcome to the Friday night fiesta that we have here this evening for you, Day One Rob. Happy Friday, all. Thank you very much for being here. We're good. We're very happy to see you. Our web checking in saying hola. Our web in a minute. It's good to see you. Let's see. Foodie Memphis. Okay. Memphis. Greetings all. Good to have you here, Foodie Memphis. I hope you stick around and make us more of a regular watch instead of just maybe this one-off show tonight. We certainly have been advocates for Memphis for well over a year by now, I think, for them possibly moving up and getting into a better conference. I have personally wanted you in the Pac-12 for a while, but I would even say that the ACC madness might give you another opportunity there as well. So lots to cover with Memphis. You guys have a bright future, I think, and certainly your basketball program's doing a great job in that regard. BYU football, that would be Shonsky. Good to have you here, Shonsky. Hi, everyone. He says, Bob Swanger checking in for Penn State Nittany Lions in the house, tuning in to the best college football show on YouTube. Thank you, Bob. That warms my heart. We really appreciate it. It's good to see you. Brett Taylor checking in. It's good to long-term viewer in the house, Brett Taylor. Thanks for being here, Brett. Hey, folks, so when is the ACC going to implode? I don't know. At this point, we've had this conversation 100 times. I don't think implode is the right answer necessarily. I think we can talk about it sort of changing. There's no doubt about that. Do you guys think any movement starts this year?
Ooh, that is a great question. I do not think there's going to be any movement this year, but I do think next year is going to heat up significantly. I think that by 2028, the schools that have P2 options need to be in those conferences. So I don't know if you can I don't know how the mechanics are going to work. Right. I do think next year the pressure is going to be on to be out and be ready to be playing in the SEC or the Big Ten by 2028 football season.
I would tend to agree with you. I think that timeline makes a lot of sense to me as you. How about you, Moen?
As far as what you're going to know about, I don't think you're going to have anything publicly happening this season.
Okay.
But things have already started. Things have already started.
I think things have been started for a long time.
Yeah.
They were all under the covers. Now that the 30 days has passed up with the great compromise that the ACC did with their buyout clauses and everything now out in public, they can now have first party talks. Those 30 days have come and gone. And so it is possible for these schools to be out there shopping themselves, and they don't have to hide, meeting at the Denny's on some Thursday afternoon to have surreptitious meetings.
Mm.
They can actually do them out and big, and they don't have to hide their heads under the covers. So that'll be interesting to see kind of where that goes. So anyway, good to see you here, Brett. Friends call me Sean. Good to see you, Sean. Checking in, saying comments on the guest last night. That would be I Talk SEC. It was, if nothing else, an entertaining interview with him. Scott is his name. Saying comments on the guest last night. SEC first choice is Clemson. That's what Scott said last night, not UNC. Miami's a perfect fit for the SEC. He did say that as well. And SEC would love to have Kansas. He was a big time basketball believer. Talked about the Clemson basketball program. Talked about certainly North Carolina and Kansas. I don't know. Did you guys? I know Moen at least caught part of the show last night. Did you get a chance to see any of that interview?
Haven't caught it yet, but if it's based on this comment right here, my head's exploding a little bit.
Yeah, he was.
What a take, guys! What a take! Miami's a perfect partner for the SEC. Couple that with Clemson and KU. No North Carolina. Wow.
Well, no. North Carolina came in before in the conversation. Yeah. So his very first pick was Clemson. His second pick was North Carolina. When I asked him about Miami, he said, yeah, the SEC wants to keep the Big Ten out of the Southeast, all in any way, shape, or form as possible. And Kansas, because of the basketball growth that has happened in the SEC, he said they could look west and look to pick up the Jayhawks.
That's the one that makes the most sense to me is KU and the SEC out of all these candidates discussed outside of North Carolina, which doesn't look like it's high on the list, at least. North Carolina, number one, but I think KU has a real shot at it, guys.
Moen?
Not in the SEC, I don't think. Anymore, I think Kansas would probably, if they're going anywhere, it would be the Big Ten. Because I think SEC is probably going to get the four top teams out of the ACC, or 3 out of the top 4 teams out of the ACC. I don't know if the Big Ten's going to find enough value there. They might have to add Kansas if they decide to go to 24.
Yeah, this is where he and I's conversation started to diverge a little bit. He was talking about easily going to 22 teams, and he didn't see any challenge with that. I have been on record for a long time. I don't think they need to expand, but if they do, 20 is the number. So going past 20 for the SEC, I think is saying something. So he was bullish in general. The one minority that he sort of called out and said maybe not so much is Florida State. He's like, they did themselves some damage with the relationship stuff. And he said eventually he sees them as an SEC school, but not in that first tranche of
no
picks.
Way.
Yeah, that's what he said.
A take right there.
Yeah, a lot of people, certainly a lot of FSU Noel fans out there took exception to his interview, but Friends Call Me Sean has it spot on. That's exactly how he talked about it. And, we don't know, right? We're not in those conversations. All we can do is take what other people have said and then sort of put an analysis on it. So if it was nothing else, it was entertaining. Had a great time last night. It was a fast half hour and really enjoyed my time talking with him. Next one in the house, Patrick checking in. Good to see you, Patrick. The Pac might need New Mexico State to save them. Yeah, I'm not going to jump into that this second, but I do have 2 tweets. We will be talking about New Mexico State and Sacramento State and Texas State specifically. I don't know. I'm surprised to see some of these tweets from people about New Mexico State being high on a list to join the Pac-12. before I get into any of those details, though, do you guys have anything you want to answer on this particular comment, or we can just move on and we'll get to it later?
I think that you really need to ask about the value add for any conference when you're looking at an expansion candidate. And I just don't see a value add for the Pac-12 to consider New Mexico State. To be very honest, population-wise, market-wise, brand-wise, like there's not a lot of upside. And so I would say the odds of that happening are minuscule based on the analysis that I've performed.
Mo, would you want to add anything to that? We'll get it. Like I said, we'll get into the
Right.
details.
I think the value add for New Mexico State is they're cheap.
Like is in free?
As in close to free. And
yeah.
The teams that are actually controlling the top of the Pac-12 get to keep more of their own money.
And I don't know how that works for a school that's already, I'm sure, running a major deficit with travel costs going up and everything else, how they could make that work going to the Pacific Northwest. And I don't know. I saw that today. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Am I really reading this right? So we'll get into it in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little later.
Yeah. Our web is saying if the Pac needs New Mexico State, they are doomed. So there you go.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, like you're really reaching, guys. Like you're diluting yourself, the whole product, because you're playing New Mexico State against like your big football brands, Oregon State, New Mexico State. That is dilutive game. You've just diluted your other products. You cannot do that. Like that actually would have a negative impact on the media rights, in my view. Like
that's
what I compared to today. That would actually have a dilutive impact. So I just can't see that happening. If they did that, they're in dire straits, guys.
I think a lot of this is rumor mongering. People, I'm not going to disparage any individual people on Twitter, but certainly people are out there going for clicks. Maybe they haven't been high on people's list recently, so they're saying some things to try to draw attention. But yeah, when I saw this today, I'm like, New Mexico State, if they're the ones that the Pac-12 needs to save them, I don't know what the Pac-12's doing. So we'll have to see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Clint Moses checking in, representing Oregon State in the house. Good to see you, Clint. Back to Pac. There we go. That's a good hashtag. We support that. Brandon checking in, West Virginia fan. Good to see you, Brandon H. USF and Memphis already declined. I think all these schools we're going to talk about have declined at least once. The thing is, can they continue to decline? That's the question. But again, we'll talk about value, and I think the value will drive whether they're valuable picks or not by itself. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Good to see you, Brandon. Appreciate you. Let's see. Clint, day one wrong. We did. TRS checking in. Good to have you, TRS. Go WSU Cougs. I'm a Coug fan. Richland, Washington Bomber right here, bro. So I represent Southeastern Washington's place to be one of the most beautiful parts of the country you could live, if not a little stark, but good places to raise families, certainly. Bagman, that's a good name. Why are you called Bomber? I just said, because my high school nickname was Richland Bombers, and the name or the logo on all our football and basketball uniforms was a block R with a mushroom cloud in the background. So you do what you want with that, but that's part of where it came from. There's also another part of the story that said I don't have time to do it tonight. Well, one other day I'll give you the history of why Bomber is actually synonymous with the entire area. Tonight's not that night. Kansas would have already joined the Big or SEC if they wanted them.
I've heard this one before. Moen spoke to this actually last week. Why don't you just speak to it again about Oregon and Washington example?
Well, again, Oregon and Washington applied the day after the USC-UCLA news broke.
Right.
And they were told at the time, pause. And a lot of people at that time said, well, if the Big Ten wanted Oregon and Washington, they would already be there. Things take time, guys. Things change situations as well. I mean, look at the Pac-12. Right now it's trying to find an 8th member. Less than 2 years ago, Kansas and Oregon, or Oregon and Washington were staying, and they were going to sign an Apple deal.
But they did come in at a half share. It must
They
be
came
said.
in at a reduced share.
Yeah,
They had
yeah.
to take
The reduced share that
but
took a year to get to.
it took 18 months to get to that point.
Yeah.
But again, for a lot of people prior to that, they were saying if the Big Ten wanted Oregon and Washington, they would already be there.
Yeah, I think they were just look. They were low hanging fruit when the rest of the Pac-12 disintegrated, and I know this: Washington was never going to be in a conference with a lot of schools. They weren't going to play. They wanted to be up with USC, certainly. Almighty Finn checking in. Good to see you, Finn. Long-term member, OG member of the Mafia family. Good to have you here. What's up, College Football Mafia family?
Hey.
Going between your show and PATC.
Hey.
We appreciate you. Thanks for being here, Finn. Dan checking in. Good to have you here, Dan. Hey, guys from the UK recently got into college football. This realignment stuff is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just seems like a big guessing game. Is it guessing? I don't think we try to guess around here. We do make predictions, but we try not to do a ton of guessing. We try to collect facts and figures and make educated prognostications.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
educated guesses and research, guys. Like, let's just lay it out. Like, dude, we're kind of uber dorks, guys. Like, I love freaking realignment talk. Seriously, I've always loved it. It's like one of my passions in freaking life. I don't know why, but I love it so much. It might be a little bit of a guessing game, but everything that I've ever learned in my financial life, I'm going to apply to the sucker to quantify it to the best of my freaking ability. And I don't want to hear sources. I want to see what the data says. That's what I'm big on and stuff. So is it a guessing game? I guess so. But we're perfecting a science with realignment here. That's what the goal is, the science of realignment on College Football Mafia, because we are freaking love it. So, yes, you're welcome here. And if you love realignment, this is your place.
I push back against the guessing thing. I don't think guesses are educated ever. I think if you get information, you collect that data and then put it through your own filter and then make predictions. I think that's different than guessing. So do we make guesses? Sure. We make guesses all the time, but that's not what we try to do. As you just said, everything we do is data driven, a lot of analytics and predictive analytics in a lot of ways. And we've been right a lot more than we've been wrong. So I'm glad you found us, Dan. Glad to have you here. We are an international, wall to wall. We go all around the country, all around the world. I'm sorry. We go from Philippines, Slovenia. We have a couple other people in the UK, and we're glad to have you here. So I hope you like us and stick around. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us all on Twitter. Let's see here. Mr. Monkey says checking in, but multitasking. Okay, Monkey. That's all right.
Thank you, Monkey. Welcome in.
We'll take you either way. Doesn't matter. Let's see. Indrid cold. Moan.
Indrid cold.
Indrid cold.
It's a reference to a folklore tale. So.
Okay. If we're honest, Texas State has about as much value as I had in the bathroom yesterday. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it.
That's rough.
That's pretty raw right there. Nitwit checking in. Good to see you, Nitwit. Good to have you back, man. We've missed you. Staring defense, place at the table, smashes head through car window. Do I have that right? Staring defense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it means, but okay, Nitwit, it's good to see you.
I think I should be starting defense.
Okay. Place at the table, smashes his head through the window, a car window. Okay, here we go. W Bundy 30, good to have you here, man. No school is completely off the table. Everyone has their price. That being said, I don't think the Pac has any interest in EST and Eastern Time Zone schools and vice versa. Well, if that's the case, then they're really hurting their brand because they need to get more people watching their athletics, and the best way to do that is pick up Central and Eastern Time Zone schools.
Absolutely. They need to add at least the Central Time Zone, and Eastern Time Zone will be ideal too. It's going to be a tough sell. Central Time Zone certainly in cards, though. They need to get out of just the Pacific. right now in the mountain time zones. Then you get in the central. More eyeballs, more people, more opportunity, more windows. TV partners like that too. So they need to focus on central. And if they can get the right candidate in the Eastern, namely one in the namesake here, Memphis, Tulane, USF, you do it.
Moen, you want anything to that?
I think while you have people at the top worrying about the money, I don't think you're going to have anybody making any jumps to add dozens of more markets to try and get their money up, because there are too many bean counters at the top.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, time will tell. I think the ACC challenges are more the trouble of Pac-12 getting schools over the East time zone than it has anything to do with the time zone itself. Distances obviously matter. Traveling for games and stuff matters, but I think the biggest challenge right now to the Pac-12 and why they should have sealed this thing up 6 months ago is because of what's going on with the ACC. And now the ACC is probably going to be doing call-ups, which is going to reduce the amount of available schools that are going to want to jump to a West Coast Conference centric grouping. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's your biggest challenge. And I don't think time zones matter. I don't think anymore, though. We're used to seeing conferences coast to coast anymore. Darius Whitaker checking in. Good to have you here, Darius. Make sure you subscribe. If you're new to the channel, give us a thumbs up, maybe. Do you guys see Wazoo and Oregon State leaving the pack in the future? I could see I'll ask you and Moen, but for my take, I do think there's a possibility that they could get an ACC call up, depending on who would be available to move when they eventually lose schools. But everything is timing. And we have a lot of chairs to move out of the way before we get to that point. But I do think there's a possibility that could happen. What do you think?
Hey, if Cal and Stanford are in conference, if they're going to remain in the ACC and not jump over to a different conference like the Big Ten, Stanford has an real opportunity there still. Cal, Berkeley, very questionable. But if both those schools stay in the ACC, then adding Wazoo and Oregon State makes a ton of sense, especially when you've got the SMU already in the Central, maybe going and dipping somewhere else too on the Pacific side. So I'd say that the way that Wazoo and Oregon State can get out of the Pac-12 and get into maybe a more stable situation is if there is an implosion of the ACC in the backfill. If Cal and Stanford remain, then they probably are going to be serious candidates.
Moen, you want to add anything to that?
No.
Okay. Carson Kinney, good to have you here, Carson. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat in the house. We give him a sounder there, Moen.
We can. Let me see. Macho Man.
We'll take it.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah. Macho Madness, yeah.
That's creative. I haven't heard that one before. Let's see here. $5 super chat. How do you think the SEC, Big Ten, and the rest of college football will look after 2031 after ACC teams have reduced buyouts? Moen, you go first this time.
I think the Big Ten will be at 24. I think the SEC will be at 20. I think the Big 12 will continue to exist at somewhere between 20 to 24. The ACC will still exist, but it's going to be predominantly made up of backfills. So whether or not they keep their autonomous status, I don't know. I think we're looking at a power 3, though.
You?
Have you guys ever heard of Project Rudy before? Project Rudy? Just kidding here. So seriously, Carson, though, I think I agree with a lot of Moen's take on this one. So the SEC, 20 schools, Big Ten, 20 to 24, likely 24, ACC probably around 16, and the Big 12 at 20. That's where I see it shaking out. But guess what? This is going to happen before 2031. That's the big takeaway here. Guys, based on the numbers, the cost to not move to the power 2 if you have an opportunity is substantial. You have to make that decision and get out as soon as possible, meaning this second, this minute, this hour. You cannot wait till 2031. It is not financially viable from a long-term perspective to wait till 2031 if you can get out today. So you got to get out today. That's the big takeaway. And you've certainly got to be out and by be playing in the SEC and the Big Ten by 2028. That's what the math says. 2028 screams. It screams at 2028. Play SEC Big Ten 2028, 2028, 28, 28. You got to do it. So it's not 2031. It's probably 2027.
Okay, I agree with everything that my partners have said here, except for I'm still not sure. I'm not sold on the Big Ten going past 20 schools because I don't think Notre Dame is joining a conference. So I think you end up with a Power 3 plus 1, the rump of the ACC, when whoever's still there. That would include schools that couldn't escape when the implosion comes eventually, when the Big Four leave for the SEC. And it depends on how many schools actually go to the Big Ten. 24 to me seems like a reach, but Moen feels strongly about the 24. So that's kind of where we're at. The ACC will exist. It's just a matter of who's in that conference. I think you're going to have more of the Oregon State, Washington State type level schools. And they're not going to be. It's not right. It's not good. It's not something I want. But they're just not going to get the kudo. The creed that they need to stick around. The ACC is going to be there. It'll be a power conference, but I think it will be somewhat diminished. So. But I appreciate you asking. Thank you very much, Carson, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. It's good to have you here. Make sure you subscribe and become a permanent member around here. We love to have you. Becky, go Huskies, contributor extraordinaire, somebody else that here is helping us grow the College Football Mafia Network and family of shows. Becky with the super chat, $5 super chat. Chances Texas State takes a reduced payout to be the 8th member of the Pac-12. Well, we might as well jump right into that. So there was a tweet put out, and I'm taking the one from Kelly Damphus. I want to make sure I get the right one. I'm going to bring this up so everybody. This is what Becky is referring to. So this was put out. It was yesterday or today. Yesterday, and it was sent out by the president of Texas State. Right? Do I have that right?
You got that right.
Okay. And this tweet, so I'm just going to take the link so everybody can get to this, because we do try to share all of the links and give credit where credit's due. So that comes directly from Kelly Damphus, and it says, on my way back to DCA, that's the Dallas airport, I stopped for a great lunch near the White House. People sometimes think that I'd be happy with half a bowl of soup. After all, a cup of soup is better than no soup at all. But for me, it's a full bowl or nothing. Back to God's country. So first one to ask about that, and thank you very much, Becky, for teeing that up for us. What did that mean to you when you first saw that pop up?
It means don't pay me a half share, guys. Pay me a full share if you're going to offer me. That's exactly what that means. That's sending the message that we're not taking less than a full share. And Texas State thinks it has the leverage to make that claim right now. This one's pretty clear, actually, when you just read it out like you did, Nate. So Texas State wants a full share and not a half share, not a quarter share, not a 0 share, not 75%, but 100 freaking percent, which makes this a tougher sell for the Pac-12. That's what it means.
Moen?
Yeah, listen, I exist in a conference that pays everybody equally, except Washington and Oregon. So
it pays everybody equally except for those that we don't.
Except Washington and Oregon.
That's I love how you started that. You made it sound like you're all egalitarian, everybody's equal, but you're not. So don't preface us that
I'm
way
trying
again.
to get to a point here. If
That
Nate
is
would let me
silly.
speak, except Oregon and Washington. But the upside for Oregon and Washington is huge to take a half share.
Yeah.
They took a half share to get into the Power 2. Why would the Pac-12? Let's be honest? Why would Washington State and Oregon State think that that it's such a huge upside for Texas State to be in the Pac-12 that they would take a half share?
Well, I
Wait,
don't
so
think they
you're thinking
should.
from Texas State's standpoint?
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah,
if I was Texas State, I would hold out. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
take
why?
half.
You guys, let me ask you guys a question here. How much do you think Texas State's making in its media rights right now? I
Like
know this. How much
500,000
do you
or
guys
something.
think?
It's
I
like
think it's what,
500,000.
It's $1 million.
$1 million?
Yeah,
$1 million.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they could take.
Okay.
I mean, they could technically take $2 million and have a big beer.
And how
but
much?
that's just. But you're playing poker though, Ute. And
With
you're
what?
holding the
What
full
other
boat.
options are for Texas State, guys?
Texas State, they're happy where
Where
they
are
are.
they going to go?
Well, you
They're
could.
going to
see-
the Pac-12. That's where they're going to go.
They're one of the fastest growing brands in America. I think that Texas State, they know they can keep growing. They could potentially get a shot at this new ACC. If the new ACC includes SMU, you're probably going to put more schools in the Texas market into the ACC. Do they add a Texas State? Do they add a UNT? Do they, there's other options for them down the road. But again, I don't think there's any huge upside for them in the Pac-12. Yes, they only make $1 million in media rights now, but now they've got to travel to the Pacific Northwest. They've got to travel to some of these locations that they're not used to traveling to. And they're actually lowering their brand value, I think, by joining the Pac-12. Well,
I
there
don't
might be
agree with that.
why
Oh
they
my gosh!
Well,
No
listen.
way.
why they make $1 million a year. They're playing in East Coast and Central time zones. They are not playing late night games. They're not playing Pac after dark.
Okay.
They're playing. The only upside to the Pac I can see is you might occasionally get a slot on the CW, but we already know that CW slot is going to be controlled by Boise State, Washington State, and Oregon State.
I think whoever's broadcasting will broadcast them if they win.
Well,
If
might
you
be,
show
but
up
they're
and you
gonna-
win,
if you're a CW, you got to look at the brands that you actually have people that know about them a lot more. And I think Washington State, Oregon State, and Boise State are probably the three largest brands in whatever Pac-12 ends up being.
I don't disagree.
So I
I'm not
think that they're
saying
going to end
it's
up
different.
getting that CW time slot a lot more often than not.
Look, at the end of the day, the Pac-12 has killed itself with this realignment stuff. We were just talking about how New Mexico State is even possibly in comparison to being recruited by the Pac-12. If you have an opportunity to get New Mexico State or Texas State, which one are you going to take?
Well, I would take
And
Texas State, but
if you're Texas State, why would you're playing with house money? You're already existing in a world where only making $1 million. So why would you need to worry about having anything else be different? I think you leave my money on black and you double down. That's what I would do.
So you think
yeah,
that you would give them a full share? Is that what you're saying, Nate?
Yeah, I don't think the Pac-12 has a choice. They screwed up the UNLV thing. They screwed up their first and second approaches to the AAC4. Who else are they going to bring in? Sacramento State, who, by the way, I don't think is maybe 2 or 3 years away from actually competing in a conference with the amount of money that they're getting from boosters. So what are your other options? There's nobody else you can bring in that brings anything. When New Mexico State's even being considered, that tells you how far the Pac-12 has fallen. And we now have this gold rush that the AAC could possibly be back. Sorry, the ACC could possibly be picking up schools again. Who's the Pac-12 going to get that's going to possibly want to go all the way out to the left coast? I can't think of anybody that would do it.
Well, that's the hang up right now, isn't it? You just
as far as I'm concerned, that is.
it is the hang up right
There
now.
are no other schools that are going to go west. Why go west when everything's east?
I think it's a really good parlay into this. Who would you want and who can you not get? Right? Like, so in a perfect world, okay? Well, of course, you'd want Florida State if you're the Pac-12 and everything. But in a semi-realistically perfect world, based on the data, this video came out earlier this week, UNLV is the best fit geographically for Pac-12 expansion. Memphis is second. If you're looking at stacking them up against existing Pac members, they would show up in 6th position. Sac State's dead last. Texas State would be in 12th position, last really amongst the football playing members, with USF right ahead of them and Tulane right ahead of them. Like, I'm just looking like kind of at the valuation, like the value chart here. Look, Texas State, I get it, okay, so let's talk about this. UNLV, are they realistic right now, guys?
No.
For the Pac-12?
No.
And why are they unrealistic for the Pac-12?
Because they signed a deal for $18 to $24 million with the Mountain West. They want that cash.
They did, yes. Do you have any views, Moan, too? Is it just the money that's holding them back? The settlement money and everything with
well, yeah, I mean, money? Again, you're making so much more money in the Mountain West off of those poaching fees and exit fees that are currently in court negotiating that out. Yep. So you know that money's coming to you. Why would you jump knowing that you've got a huge payday coming your way? Yeah, especially when they signed Dan Mullen, and we know for a fact that Dan Mullen said they couldn't afford all Dan Mullen's salary. So they need that money to afford Dan Mullen.
It's crazy. You're right. So Canzano recently reported to like this, the court situation and everything. They're fighting. Pac-12 and Mountain West are fighting on multiple levels. And this thing might get dragged out. And it might go to mediation. It's likely going to be significantly lower than anticipated. And I just have a question though. Like, okay, so who right now has more financial resources, the Pac-12 or the Mountain West Conference? Like,
in hand today, the Pac-12.
Okay. What does that get you in legal cases in court? Who can press the issue longer? Who can survive out longer? Who can negotiate fees lower than you'd ever imagine based on that money? The Pac-12. So I think that actually UNLV could be in a shot still, because I'm not sure that the Mountain West is going to get anywhere near the settlement money that they thought they were going to get, like significantly less. And if that happens, that could break up the whole deal with UNLV in the Mountain West and to hop right over to the Pac-12. So I'm just saying that UNLV is out of bounds today, but that could easily change based on circumstance.
They need an 8th football playing member by the end of this year.
And I think that they'll grab that, but I think that UNLV, since they are a great target for the Pac-12, is still going to be in play in the short to intermediate term. May not be the first ad. That
may be true, but who's number 8 today?
It's going to be Texas State.
Okay. So after all that,
we'll get back to the Texas State conversation, but here's your ideal candidates, right? UNLV still maybe on the docket. Memphis, Tulane, USF. 100% agree with you guys. They're not going anywhere for multiple reasons. ACC opportunities, distance travel, and also the fact that the American Conference has a super heavy buyout. To get out of that conference is like $24 million. So you're paying a hefty buyout to leave the American Conference. All those schools would be doing it. And UNT would have to pay that buyout too. So North Texas, while they might be interested in Pac-12, that's a lot of money to shell out. Whereas Texas State's buyout's like $3, $4, $5, $6 million. It's much more realistic for Texas State to get out of the Sun Belt versus any school in the American to get out and pay it out and stuff, because you're looking at the media rights dollars for the Pac-12, and you're looking at best case scenario, probably $10 million, right? You do the math on that and everything else, and it's really a big ask to pay $20 million plus in exit fees to leave a conference to get into a conference where you're making a couple million more, but you just shelled out $24 million.
So let's bring this back full circle. Yeah. So Texas State, we go back to this tweet from the president of the school. Would you hold on for a full share, or would you take a half share or even a 3/4 share? Why would you buy early? I don't see any reason they need to rush to do anything.
So with Texas State, it's like who really has all the leverage, right? Like the Pac-12 doesn't have to add Texas State. It's a target.
Well, they really do.
I mean, they could add Sac State for free, right? And dilute yourself and everything else.
Well, they can't. They actually can't. They can't add them this year. They wouldn't qualify because they're still waiting for that waiver to even join the FBS, let alone join a conference. So they're a year away.
What about Wyoming? I mean, I don't know.
Wyoming had those buyout numbers. They were getting a considerable amount, just like Colorado. Sorry, just like Air Force Academy and UNLV got the most money. Wyoming wasn't far behind them.
Tell Gonzaga to field a football team.
Yeah, right. I think we just answered the question. I don't think there is a choice. I don't think
so. Like, yeah, the leverage, right? We're talking about leverage.
Sacramento State has all the leverage.
So yeah, Texas State. Look, I mean, Texas State. If you're Texas State, what's your really best case scenario? Like the odds of you really getting invited to the ACC one day are slim.
Yeah, that's
very
a
slim.
That's a
so
stretch.
What's the best case scenario is maybe you get invited to the American once that ruptures with the ACC. There's a jump over to the ACC, then maybe American invite. What I'm saying is that there's not really great options for Texas State guys. They're not nearly as attractive as you think. I agree with you.
They're the first phone call for the AAC, I think.
But the AAC would be without Memphis, without Tulane, without UCF.
I know they're still going to make more money. They're still going to make more money joining depleted AAC than they will. Well, I don't know. It depends what the final number is for the Pac-12. We don't know.
If the Pac-12 gets $10 million, the Americans getting $8 million right now.
Yeah. Okay.
The Pac-12 be making more, and that's with the big brands in the American. So it's going to be bad. The paydays are going to be real bad for the American once the big brands leave. Real bad.
I don't know where you're coming up with that. How do you know what it is until it happens, though?
That's just where the ballpark estimates have been, are $10 million for the Pac-12 media.
Well, let me show you a tweet here, and we'll jump to this next part of this topic, which is this Luke Fletcher tweet that he started in the last 2 days. He's put out these tweets. The first one was out New Mexico State. The next one was about Texas State. And he said, and he's saying this declaratively. He's saying the amount of money for the Pac-12 media deal is $8.3 million, which is roughly $75 million annually if there's 8 football playing schools in the conference. I think that number is extremely inflated. Do you really think they're going to get $8 million? And under what? Why would they not get $6 million?
The Pac-12?
Uh-huh.
You think they're going to get $6 million?
I don't think they're going to get. If they get 8, I think they ought to take it today. They should have signed the papers yesterday.
They've got better per school TV ratings than the American. When you actually do comparables,
they may, but the American's not making
more than American.
The American's not making.
8.
They're 7.5, aren't they?
Maybe, in that ballpark.
But that's with Memphis. That's with USF. That's with they have. You could say the AAC right now has better brands, top to bottom, in that conference.
As far as TV viewership, no, it's not really close. Oregon State and Wazoo blow everybody away. TV.
That's
viewership.
2 schools in Boise State. Yeah,
2 of 8 schools you're talking about though, in the Pac-12, right?
But let's be clear here. Are you using just last year's ratings when they were first as independents, or are you going back to when they played in the Pac-12?
I mean, we could look at it last year too. What did they report last year? Oregon State and Wazoo. I'll pull that up.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I'd be interesting what their ratings are without those Pac-12 teams they're playing against.
And I would say even last year might have been an outlier because they were in between. People were maybe a little confused where to find them. They weren't sure where their football games were going to be. I'm not sure last year was a fair assessment of where they're going to be in 2 or 3 years. I think they might have higher ratings later. Certainly when Boise State moves up to play them on a regular, that's going to help. Those ratings will be higher. But I think this $8.3 million, I think, is extremely speculative. I don't know where that
you guys are even making that. I really don't think so. I don't. I think that's absolute murder of a TV deal right there. And I guess the Pac-12 has been undercut before. That should be market value, though. It really shouldn't, based on viewership.
Yeah, I don't know where Luke Fletcher's getting the number, but if he's getting it from the Pac, I'm just not going to believe it.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe too.
Oregon State and Washington State were the same one that pushed that the Pac-12 was getting $50 million right up into the
Well,
day
they
that
were
the
doing that
Pac-12
because they were
collapsed.
rah-rahing. They didn't know. They were just hoping against hope, trying to convince people of something that maybe couldn't be convinced. Either way, I think the point still stands. Unless there's some other number that comes out and says this is going to drive where your valuation is, I think the idea that the Pac-12 is going to get, right now I'm at between probably 7 and 9 million for the Pac-12 schools.
Regardless of what they get, if Gonzaga, a school who doesn't even play football, is getting a full share,
that's
how
true
are you going to
too.
argue to Texas State? You guys bring us into a new time zone. You
Yeah.
are one of the fastest growing brands in college athletics, but you guys, you have to take half. You have to take half. Everybody else should just take a little bit less to make Texas State whole. And then you sign that deal and you move on with your life. This is just, and I hate to do it, and it's not against the Pac-12 fans. Great fans in the Pac-12, great fans for Oregon State and Washington State, but the people at that top of the conference have just got things wrong too many times. They screwed up the first time, only taking 6 schools and not pouncing on UNLV when they had a chance. This shouldn't even be a question. They should have added 8 schools to start out with. They should have got UNLV right from the beginning. They didn't do it. They got those 6, and they said, well, let's leave this out here. Let's wait for this. And what happened? Now they're in the situation they're in now.
We have Greg Flugaur has joined the show. Boy, Greg, you're going back to back tonight. We appreciate you being here tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, geniuses, for letting me on. I do appreciate it.
Sure. We would never turn you down, Greg.
No, I think you probably should. What are you guys talking about?
Utes
Talking
trying
about
to
Pac-12 expansion, and
Utes
we're talking
trying
about
to-
like. Go ahead.
Utes trying to convince us that the Pac-12 media deal should be $12 million.
No, I think it's $10 million. I think you should target for a media deal per team. I think that's absolutely realistic too. Do they get there? I don't know, but it shouldn't be any lower than 8. Like you guys are alluding, that should be $6 million. What a freaking slap in the face!
What is the Mountain West making right now, Ute?
I don't know, but you could
5 million.
Who's even in the Mountain West anymore, man? Like seriously,
You're
they're like
talking
Santa
about
Clara.
You're adding 2 schools. Essentially, you're taking Mountain West schools, adding the 2 old Pac-12 schools to them, and you think that brings what, another $3 million per school? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Drives value. I think Fresno State.
Boise State was already in the Mountain West. That's not a value add. That's just like.
But yeah, they were getting dragged down by a bunch of milk suckers, man.
Listen,
who did they bring over that aren't milk suckers? Tell me right now.
Listen,
Colorado State.
They got Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is in the Mountain West. Northern Illinois is only one of 2 teams last year that beat Notre Dame.
That doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Anyway, Greg, so that's what you've come in the middle of.
I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what type of deal they're gonna get. I mean, again, you've got. I mean, deals keep going up, and this is going to be a new deal, and maybe there's going to be a little bit of streaming involved, right? And they're gonna pay more than your regular linear. And I mean, I don't. It could be 10 mil. I don't know, but I have no idea. I mean. It doesn't seem too outrageous, but have you guys talked about Texas State and the bowl of soup?
Please tell us. We did talk about it. Go ahead and tell us what your thoughts were about the bowl of soup.
Well, I think it was about. I think it was about the Pac-12. Don't you guys think it was, or do you guys think it was actual soup?
No.
So and
Pac-12.
And I can see why. I don't know if it was the correct move to put that post out there, but but if that is Texas State's position, I can understand why he would want full or nothing at all, because it's going to be a drag and there's going to be some cost to them keep going west every time, and going to the Pac-12. I can see why he's saying full or nothing, if that's what that was about. So.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think? Do you think there's any reason for Texas State to take anything less?
No, I think they should go for full. Yeah, because they're again, it's gonna be quite the transition for them.
Right.
To go west like that. But then again, it has to do with what is the full share? It's so they don't make much in the Sun Belt, but there's a cost to what they're going to try to do here. If they go to the Pac-12, it's somewhat of a gamble. So yeah, I would go for full share if I was them, especially if you are in their position, you're thinking Pac-12 don't have many viable options.
That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
so-
right. Yeah, what are their options, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that the Pac-12, look, they laid this bed. They need to rest in it now because they're the ones who screwed up the UNLV thing. They screwed up the AAC4 approaches. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Let's get to some super chats. We got these right before you joined the show, Greg. So let's do these right now. Kerrigo Knowles, obviously OG member of the Mafia family, in here tonight. $10 super chat. What's up, fellas? Just stopping by real quick to say what up on my way to Florida State, Wake Forest. Huge conference baseball game tonight. Obviously, the ACC plays a lot of baseball over there. Good to see you. Thank you very much, Kerry. We appreciate the super chat. Unless you guys have a comment on baseball. I don't know much about college baseball.
Florida State's 97-38 all time against Wake Forest in baseball. So
Wow.
good luck. Good luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now okay.
Go ahead, Greg. No, go ahead. Greg, go ahead.
No, do the super chat.
Okay. All right. Ryan Willie checking in. Certainly right in time for Greg to be here. A long-time OG member of the Mafia family. Good to have you here, Ryan. $5 super chat. Monty is suggesting that Sac State will go to the Mountain West Conference or the Pac. This first year, I don't know if that they can make the jump directly. Don't they have to have one holding year once they make the jump to FBS? Has anybody ever gone directly from FCS to an FBS conference? Or I know Liberty made the jump recently, but I thought that there was 1 year where they were independent, right?
Didn't James Madison get some kind of exemption to do that?
I don't know. You might be right. I'm not sure.
Other
I
than
don't know.
Sac State. Yeah, Sac State could be in play.
I think you can. I think you can jump right into a conference if you have an invite, but you're not going to be eligible for the playoffs. But Sacramento State don't have an invite, so they got to go the independent route. So if the Monty is saying they're going to go to the Mountain West or the Pac, it ain't going to be. I mean, if they were going to go to the Mountain West or Pac, unless the Pac-12 is, trying to do something else and is saying to Sacramento State, if this doesn't work out, we'll go to you next. But it doesn't make logical sense on why, other than that scenario, why would you think that they've got a home in the Mountain West or Pac? At least, 2025, they're going to play in the Big Sky. They're going to try to be FBS independent in 26. And they're not going to be eligible in 26. And then in 27, they're hoping to be eligible for playoffs as an independent in FBS.
Okay.
I don't know. I've often thought that that their best route to a conference is probably going to be Conference USA, because by 27, you might have some movement, or by 28, where the AAC's got a backfill and everyone's backfilling each other, and the Conference USA is at the bottom of the, of the totem of the tree, and then they're going to take on Sacramento State. I think Sacramento State's going to get to a conference though, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
I think there's the desperate move that Ute has been talking about. Without diminishing your media deal, you could bring on a Sacramento State, pay them nothing, and get to your 8 football teams, right? So that they continue to compete at the highest level for the CFP. I think that would be the only. That's the only way that I could see the Pac-12 not paying a full share to a Texas State, is to bring in a school that would take no revenue at all. Or you could do that with New Mexico State. But what does the Pac-12 look like if you take Sac State or New Mexico State? I mean, that's a tough.
Sac State is an interesting one. Agree with everything you're saying. You're diluting the overall product, but they have so much money there at Sac State. Guys, I'm serious about this. They might pay to be in your conference.
That's true.
Say SMU didn't take any distributions, they get a little cut. If you did the economics on it for Sac State to get in the Pac-12, it's probably worth paying into to fund more media rights for a period of time before you even get to a break-even level or start getting paid. That is serious investment in in a program. If they're that aggressive, that could certainly happen. And that might be advantageous because you're lifting your media rights a little bit. Maybe they're not so dilutive to your media agreement in that way, but that is the leverage. And so if you're the Pac-12, you play this hardball with Texas State. Texas State's going nowhere, guys. I know that Texas State's a growth brand, they're the hot topic and everything, but you guys, where else are they going to go? Tell me where else they're going to go over the next 5 years. I'd love to hear it.
They'll probably stay in the Sun Belt.
I think, or
exactly.
I do think they could get a call up, depending on how things work with the ACC and the AAC. They could replace a UTSA. They could replace, for that matter, they could replace out a Texas school and replace a Memphis or a Tulane. I mean,
can you even name half the teams in the American? I'm serious about that. Seriously, you guys don't understand.
The four I know are the ones I talk about all the time.
Now, so I'm just saying that if their top brands in the American leave, you guys don't realize how low that conference has gone as far as brand value and everything. The Pac-12 is a completely different level than the American, especially if any American schools get poached. That cannot be a legitimate option. I'm saying that the Pac-12 is really the option for Texas State. So you can play hardball. Both need each other. Get it done. Don't just give up the house and pay 100%. Get it 75, 50% and work out a deal. It's a win-win for both, but you don't need to pay them 100%. They got nowhere to go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, that does make reasonable sense. I don't think that's the reality, unfortunately, for the Pac-12.
Well, you can always sit in the Sun Belt and make $1 million a year, and you can grow your mighty brand and stuff in the Sun Belt. And get TV viewers per game.
That is true. That is true.
Or you can play Boise State, freaking University, Oregon State, and Washington State. You need to be realistic about this, how big that would be for that brand. And you guys, the Pac-12 is much bigger than you think. These brands in the Pac-12 are solid brands. And Moan, I know you shake your head and everything. We're talking about Oregon State,
it's not,
and Boise State.
It's not as good as
You're talking about Gonzaga Bulldogs and basketball, man. Come on, you act like they're freaking mud.
AAC, congratulations.
I don't think anybody's
AAC is a better conference, and
you can't even name the AAC schools.
Navy, Army.
Let's pull up the AAC and just talk about that. I'm serious. There's no way you can name most of the AAC schools.
North Texas is in the AAC. UAB, I believe, is in the AAC. But you've got Navy and Army, the two service academies, who did pretty damn well this year. So, I mean,
is Eastern Carolina? Is Eastern Carolina?
ECU is
East Carolina.
Or East Carolina, that's what I meant. East Carolina. They're in the AAC. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but here's the thing, guys. They've got East Coast time slots.
Yeah, that's
they do have East Coast time slots. Those are a valuable thing. I get it. The Pac-12 might have more name recognition in Oregon State, Washington State, and Boise State. Meanwhile, the AAC has Memphis, Tulane, USF, Army, Navy.
You've got Gonzaga basketball, who almost got in the Big 12.
UTSA.
Gonzaga basketball in the Pac-12, guys. You guys
Who
are
really
really
thought
smart.
about Gonzaga with the Big 12, though? That was a pipe dream, I think.
Yormark wanted that.
He wanted, but that doesn't necessarily mean that would have been a good move. I think you look at it now, and I think that they were smart not to do that.
I agree with that, and like, but it's still like it's worthwhile, like noteworthy that Gonzaga is in the Pac-12, right?
You're
That is
right.
a huge
It
brand.
is.
That's one of the major basketball brands in the nation.
You're paying them a football share to play basketball, though, in a league. That does tell you where the rest of the league is at. You know, if they were all that in a bag of chips, they wouldn't. I mean, Gonzaga joining would be like they had to overpay to get a Gonzaga to come over there too.
Well, how much is the Big East media deal? It's like around $8 million. So
I
if you
don't
comp that out, it's
know.
basically in line with the Gonzaga brand. I
For
would say that'd be
Gonzaga,
right there.
yeah, but all they do is play basketball, though. You're not getting any football money. All
But
you
in the
do is
basketball side,
basketball.
it adds so much value that it makes them. It supports their ad. That's what, I don't think it's dilutive that in Gonzaga. In other words, I don't.
No, I don't think it's dilutive either. What I'm saying is you're bringing a full basketball share in, and you're paying a brand to play only half the year in sports. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Before we move on, let me give
Yeah, go ahead.
since Greg is here, he will like this.
Ryan in the house. God.
Greg, if you're
Badger.
unfamiliar, that's the sound of a badger. And I found out this week
I know
at the
what
rehab
a
center,
sound of a badger is.
gophers are the natural prey of the badger.
Wow.
Really.
Did you invite Greg on here tonight just to hit him? Is that what this was?
I couldn't help
when
myself.
when a gopher has the axe in his hand, though.
Well, that's true.
Yes, they
The
do.
gopher can swing an axe.
Stormy Cyclone, another OG member of the Mafia family, checking in for $5 super chat, saying better late than never. Been listening to Greg at Peek Around the Corner. There you go, Greg. People shouting you out even when you're not on your own show.
Yeah, thanks, Stormy. I do have a.
Go ahead.
Super chat.
One more. I have one more super chat. Becky Go Huskies, $1.99 super chat, saying Texas State was offered a quarter share. No joke. Yeah, see, that's lowballing, man. That's less than
yeah.
You know,
I mean, like Becky would know. Becky would know that
Becky
a quarter
does know.
share. So like that, I would accept that as credible information right there. Like, and so that's basically where the Pac-12 is, right? On Texas State, they think they can offer them 25%. Can you get that to 50 or 75? That's probably where it works out at the end.
All right, Greg, go ahead.
You know, in terms of like Conference USA, MAC, Sunbelt, you know, Sunbelt, their last TV media rights, they increased. I don't know what the percentage was. I mean, I know they make very little money, but they zoomed past the MAC and the Conference USA. I mean, they have a lot more viewership for their content, Sunbelt. So I'm wondering when their next media contract negotiation is, and I wonder if they can, you know, bump up a little bit more. But among those three G5 conferences, they have zoomed by the MAC and the Conference USA for value. But anyways, I do owe somebody on the panel an apology.
Who's that?
A Moen.
Okay. All right.
What do you owe Mr. Buckeye an apology.
What do you apologize
Well,
for?
when I was on this show, now it's very difficult for a Gopher to apologize to a Buckeye, first of all. Okay.
All right.
But I have to take an L on something. Something I reported on was incorrect. Moen, I don't know. He said on the show, and he's probably said it a few times, he believes when it comes to the next conference expansion, the next expansion wave, he believes that the Big Ten and the SEC are not in this traditional competition and fighting with each other. And I probably rudely interrupted the Buckeye, like I normally do. And I said something to the effect of, well, I think they are competing with. I think nothing has changed just because they're in an advisory group together. they're still looking out for their own self-interest, which is true. Even through this apology, it's true. But I sort of said, I think no, the rules have not changed, right? Between the SEC and the Big Ten. I have to take some of that back. I think Moen is correct. I was recently told, have not talked about it on my live show. The live show, we've been booked, for all the stuff's going on, right? But because I said it on your show, Nathan, while you and Moen, I got to come on here and take the L and apologize to Moen for rudely interrupting him. But I do enjoy rudely interrupting him.
Sure.
I think Moen is. I think. Now this is going to be a very touchy thing here. Okay. How do I say this without getting in trouble? Allegedly. There we go. Allegedly. No collusion, but I do think there is an understanding. I think there's an understanding. I've been told. I know, Nathan. I'm trying to figure out a way to do this.
Of what? World domination? There's an understanding.
No.
I mean, come on.
No.
Really? What does that mean?
I think there's an understanding of. I think the Big Ten knows what the SEC is most likely going to do, and I think the SEC is kind of understands where the Big Ten is, and I don't think they're going to be throwing knives at each other. I'm not saying it's 100% set in stone what is going to happen, because there's variables that are outside of the Big Ten and the SEC's control. The economy,
Right.
world events, media company, there's things out of their control. But I think there's an understanding of where they are going to do with their conferences. And I was told this about 3 days ago. I think when did I officially apologize to you, Mo?
You called me this morning, Greg.
Was it this morning?
Time.
God, this
This
has been a
morning
long
or
day. I thought I apologized to you yesterday. Okay, whatever. I was told that that they both have an understanding and where they're going to they have gamed this out separately, but they understand each other because the way they have to talk about the future. And I don't think there's going to be. I think we're getting awfully close, and I'm going to put this in terms that we can all understand. I think I'm getting awfully close. I'm getting real close to putting out an official peek on an action that the SEC is going to do within the next 18 months. And I think the door is pretty much shut on the Big Ten on a certain action, because I think they have an understanding with each other. So I was thinking the opposite here. And I don't, now that I've been told by certain people, but that's as far as I can go with it.
What constitutes
So Moen,
collusion?
you were right. I was wrong once again.
Greg,
Thank you. I will get that isolated and clipped onto the soundboard, Greg.
what constitutes collusion? Can you have collusion if there's more than two parties involved, for instance? Like, was the A4 or the P5, was that collusion? Or is collusion only between, it's bipolar? It requires only two parties.
I have no idea.
And how do we go about proving?
Listening, I have no.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? Because this is all up to interpretation. What you're describing, depending on what you're saying, and what the perception is out in the world, in a lot of ways, you could say that and say that would be a collusion.
Okay, so me and Moen are trying to date the same girl.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Wow, I know.
He must have
TMI.
terrible standards, Greg. Come on.
Let's get
And
good point.
and the lady lives closer to Moen. I got a beat up car, and Moen's got a little bit more money. I'm handsomer, by the way. I'm more
That's
handsome.
good.
And but see, I know that Moen and this lady have texted each other a lot more than I've texted with this lady.
Okay.
And I know that maybe if I throw out a bunch of text messages, that I can possibly win this lady over with my charm over Moen. But I know I'm behind. Moen knows I'm behind. And the cost of me sending a bunch of texts, sending an order of cheese pizza to the lady, doing all these things might disrupt other things that me and Moen as boys we got going with each other. So I'm not even going to try to. I might acquiesce and do something else.
Does this lady wear?
Collusion? No. Huh?
I knew we were
Does the lady wear baby blue often?
Okay, can we just get off of
What?
this?
Wait a second. I'm not going to be with a woman who just enjoys cheese pizza. Let's get serious. She's got to at least like pepperoni and sausage on that bad boy.
Okay,
Wow.
okay. So really quick, just so everybody knows what collusion is. If you're not able to see what we're doing right now, collusion refers to a secret cooperation or agreement between two or more parties. So it doesn't have to be just two parties. Often for fraudulent or illegal purposes, it involves actions taken to influence or control pricing or a market and can deceive or defraud others of their legal rights. So the reason I asked that question, Greg, is because specifically there's been talk in the past, certainly over the past 20 years, this, whether it's collusion or not, questions come up several times, and not once has it stuck. So I'm not even sure whether they're actively colluding with one another or not. I don't think it matters anymore. As long as they both know where they want to be at the end of the thing. I think that by itself would constitute enough of a collaboration. It might not matter.
The Big Ten legal team, good luck trying to get collusion through that. I mean, seriously, it's like an army of freaking litigation over there. So they're going to do it so smooth and so legally correct that they're not going to get busted for anything.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove, guys.
Yeah.
That's true. And I guess at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is college sports. And the reason it matters is because if you have some parties trying to freeze other parties out by working with another third party, that would be not necessarily something people would support. At the same time, maybe it won't matter. Because if all the biggest brands are in one location, that by itself might constitute enough of a control that everybody else just has to take whatever they're given.
Yes. And then in Moen, I'm going to throw something else out just to stir the pot a little bit. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Want the
Knock
pot?
yourself out.
Huh?
Knock yourself out, Greg.
I'm not now. This I'm just throwing this out there. This should not come down on college football mafia show. This should not be attached to Nathan Brown or Wild Jude or Moen. So for those who are taping everything and clipping things and trying to blame things on Wild Jude and Nathan Brown and Moen, just blame this on me.
Okay.
But so I'm just going to throw this out there, and then that's all I'm going to do with it.
Okay.
For now.
Okay.
But we've heard a few months ago, many months ago, that Notre Dame was going to be a college football many, many months ago, we heard reports of Florida State trying to get something done with a private capital,
Yes.
Right.
private equity.
Yep.
And then we heard reports that they had to shut it down, right? And the reason why they had to shut it down based on the reports is because, it's very hard to get a deal done. They were down the road a little bit when you're suing your conference and the conference is suing back at you, right?
Yeah.
Well, during this time, PATC was fortunate to get information that certain representatives of Florida State and certain representatives of a private equity firm met in a certain place in Chicago. We even put out clues about what tavern it was and where the restaurant was and locate. It was on a certain river in Chicago, and we put clues out there and people figured it out. But people thought that there was information about Florida State being in Chicago, and people thought that was about the Big Ten. They were talking to the Big Ten. And of course, at that time, I was saying they can't talk to the Big Ten, especially in the public. But they were actually talking to a firm, private, whatever.
6-3.
Oh,
Or whoever.
and
No, Greg, that was actually public knowledge, though. I mean, Sirius Sportico came out at 6th Street.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. 6th Street. I did a video on that.
Okay. Yeah, that was public knowledge. That was public, but it wasn't public knowledge that they met at a certain place. Anyways, that might be something that people are going to have to keep an eye on going forward on Florida State. They may have more freedom, more value to that private capital or other, they might have the ability to do something here, Florida State. So keep an eye on that because now they're not tied down to a certain court case. So
Let's get to. Sorry, go ahead.
Throwing that out there. Go ahead.
Let's get to a couple more super chats we've had come in the house while we've been sitting here talking. Carson Kinney again, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Carson. We appreciate you. Want to give him a sounder there, Moen?
Yeah, I'm going to do this in honor of Greg being here, Carson. You may not have heard this already, but here you go. If it'll play.
We'll take it.
We'll take it.
We'll take
if it'll
it.
Play.
Mowing is the word. Mowing is the word. All right? I give you permission on this day to say mowing.
And Moen was right, Carson Kinney. Thank you so much. You want me to read this, Nate?
Go ahead. You sound like you're full
Outside of
throat.
Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, what do you think was the biggest domino to fall that led to this crazy realignment? Hot take, I think A&M to the SEC in 2012 is not talked about enough. I'll let you guys go first and I'll answer last.
Nebraska to the Big Ten. USC to the Big Ten. Those are the two different waves that I think really cracked it. I think that was a huge move for Nebraska. It was such a core part of the Big 12 for so many years and had such deep ties to OU, playing K-State and everything. It broke the back when Nebraska left especially. A&M was a blow, but Nebraska was backbreaking for the conference, the Big 12 at the time back in 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago. And then when USC left the Pac-12, it just broke the back. No one was going to sign that media deal. Washington and Oregon would not sign on that dotted line no matter what. It wasn't going to happen. It was dead right when USC left. So those are the two that come to mind that just have been backbreaking, I think, realignment.
I think Nebraska was big. I don't think it was back-breaking, in my opinion. I think Texas A&M did break the wheel, as it were, and then everything else that happened after that. USC, by leaps and bounds, though, of all of the moves, USC was the one that was the most crippling to any one part of big-time college football. So that's my opinion. Greg?
The biggest domino, in my opinion, was Penn State. because
Really?
it made Big Ten into it was going to put Big Ten into a second region. Now it took them a long time to get there because people kept not being interested in the Big Ten.
Right.
North Carolina has declined many times. So I think that was the biggest domino because that meant the Big Ten was going to go to that second region. But then, the biggest one, I mean, Carson said, outside of Texas and Oklahoma. So this is all outside. The Texas-Oklahoma thing, man, was, jeez. I mean, that was a nuclear bomb going off. And I think before and after is after all the aftershocks, right? And before it was just setting it all up. But man, that Oklahoma-Texas thing was just a nuclear bomb going off.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to agree with Greg, but for a different reason. In the 1990s, when they invited Penn State to the league, they also formally invited Notre Dame for about the 5th time. And Notre Dame declined that invite. And I believe if Notre Dame had accepted that invite, I believe you'd still have a Big 12 today with Texas and Oklahoma in it. I believe you'd still have a Pac-12 or Pac-10 with USC and UCLA in it. I think Notre Dame not joining a conference in the 1990s is what really set in motion all the events that we led up to today. I believe this is a 30-year realignment cycle, and that was the beginning of it.
Before we leave the super chat, I'm curious,
Yeah.
do you guys think that remember the time when the Pac-12 almost poached Texas and A&M and OU?
Yeah.
Remember, I was just right there, that deal? If that deal would have got done, how would it have changed the realignment landscape? Would Texas and OU still be in the Pac-12, or do you think they would have jumped to SEC anyway?
I don't think
that would've
USC. I don't think USC leaves if they.
No
bring
way.
in
Yeah, USC doesn't go.
Yeah,
anywhere.
I
I'm
think the
curious on, the
Pac-12
structural power change, right?
Yeah, I think it's a completely different. Yeah, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Southeastern Conference at that point. That's what I would think.
I tend to agree. I
And
think you would have had a power conference on the West Coast. Oklahoma, Texas, USC, Oregon. I mean, those are some huge football brands.
Yep. Yep.
And there was another failed attempt at an expansion, and you can probably find it. And you Google it. Lee, what's the guy's name out of Nebraska? It starts with the letter B. I think he's retired now. Lee Bareneck, something or another. But he wrote an article back in 2012, 2011, where the Big Ten, where there were 5 schools that approached the Big Ten together. Remember that, Moen? There was articles written about it.
Yeah.
It was Texas A&M. It was Oklahoma. It was Iowa State. I remember those 3.
Wow.
Texas
A&M, Oklahoma. Was it?
Kansas was one of them.
Yeah. Nebraska
Iowa State was one of them, and Nebraska was one of them.
Yeah. And the Big Ten was like, we're interested. So they were interested. The 5 were interested. Big Ten was interested. But the Big Ten could not economically make it work at that time. So then that opened the door for other stuff to happen. But that
What year was that, Greg?
Economically. Boy.
I don't recall
2000.
hearing about that.
Yeah. So it was a Nebraska writer. I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious of the timing.
Lee. The first name is Lee. Second name begins with B, the letter B.
Okay.
And it was back in maybe 2008, 2009, 2010. But the article was written like in 2012, 13, or 14, something like that.
That would have been another extraordinary move for certain. Yeah. That could have changed things as well.
Yeah.
Ryan Willie, another $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Ryan. Minnesota won't have the axe after this season, Greg. Book it. Ryan says after this season. Book it.
Let me. Can I be blunt?
Go ahead.
The separation between Minnesota and Wisconsin the separation between Minnesota and Wisconsin is only going to widen this year. I mean, that is going to be clear to everybody. It's going to be the Badgers will probably be a 2-touchdown underdog when they play Minnesota by the end of the season. That's
wow.
Yeah. This is
This is the
separation
season.
time, baby. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's been. Well, I don't know. More people are picking the Gophers to finish ahead of the Badgers. I think this is it, guys. I think the separation begins.
Wow. All right. It's a new day has dawned. It'll be fun to see Minnesota back in their rightful place at the top of the top 25. Right, Greg?
You got that right.
All right. Ryan, again, another $5 super chat saying, Nathan, I think the guy you had on last night, which was iTalk SEC, his name was Scott, had a wish list and nothing serious. If the SEC goes past 20, they'll need to go to 24 and get divisions. I think that was crazy talk. I don't see the SEC making it to 20 will be extraordinary. So yeah, I don't think that's something anybody needs to be holding their breath on. But he, just so you know, Greg, he talked about Kansas potentially, talked about Florida State, talked about Clemson, talked about Miami, believe it or not, for the SEC. So there was it was a fun conversation we had last night. I certainly appreciated him being on with me. Okay, we are down at it. We've got about 15 more minutes. If you want to be part of the show at this point, it's going to have to be a super chat. We've got a bunch of other comments that are already flagged. We made it this far. I don't know how we got here already, but we've got about 15 minutes left. And we invite you to stick around and be part of our conversation as we keep going. We push to the end of this show. Greg, you want to stick around for this?
Yeah, I'll stick around. Moen,
Okay.
I sent you I didn't send you the original article, but I sent you information on Nebraska newspaper article, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas A&M, Kansas, and Iowa State from the Big 12 trying to get to the Big 10.
Got it here.
All right.
I mean, I'll put
All
this
right.
in private
Appreciate
chat for Nate to bring up.
Okay.
Got it.
Nate, if you want to bring that up.
Let's get to this comment first, and then I'm Kerry D says Texas State has a huge upside. I think we can tell from the logo there next to Kerry's name that right, it's Kerry, right? Is it Corey? I'm sorry, Corey. I apologize.
Corey D.
Corey D. He's a Texas State fan, I think. You have my support to the Pac-12. I'm not sure where. We'll quickly go around the panel. Where do you guys think Texas State is at the beginning of the college football season next year?
I don't know if they can get it. Yeah, I guess they'd have to be in the Pac-12 by then, wouldn't they? As soon as possible, get them in.
Yeah.
Work the deal out. I think it gets done at 50 to 75% of a share.
Greg?
Texas State, what was the question?
Where do they end up at the end of next
Where do they
season?
end up at the end? Yeah, where are they playing football next fall?
Pac-12.
Yeah, that's what I think so too. Let's see. Moen, you already said. How about you?
Go ahead, Moen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think they're right where they're at. And I simply believe that because the Pac-12 can't get out of its own way.
Okay. All right. It's possible they screw this one up too. It's true. Yeah, that is possible. Quickly, we'll go to this comment. This is the article. I'll post the link. But this is the article Greg was just talking about. Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas A&M, Kansas, and Iowa State sought to join the Big Ten in 2010. That would be, they were asking the Big Ten to join, right? To be very
well,
clear,
if you
that's
go, yeah, that's not the original. That's not the original article. But if you go down a little ways, it does say the Big Ten was interested, but they couldn't. The revenue sharing plan they were having a hard time with that. If you go down a little bit more, I think. Right there. No, go up.
Bold.
You had it in the bold. Go up a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. The last paragraph, the feedback on the Big Ten school officials were positive. Both sources said the sticking point was devising a revenue sharing plan to satisfy all. It would have taken at least 3 to 4 years for that many incoming schools to hit the financial payoff sought for moving. Well, again, if you were Iowa State you should have taken, they've all should have taken the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually they would have had the big payoff of being in the Big Ten.
Right.
But,
Yeah,
at that time, you didn't know what the future, whatever.
You didn't know. We didn't know we'd end
Yep.
up here, certainly.
Yep.
All right, we'll get to some more comments as we close the show out tonight. So Corey, sorry. Thanks for that chat. We appreciate it. Masta, good to see you, man. It's been a minute. Good to have you here. Masta is a valuable member of the Mafia family. Good to have him here. And what homework is, I think up here. Yeah, up here, Masta says 12 million is wishful thinking for the Texas State and I think the Pac-12 valuation. And then to follow that up, he says, and what homework is that, Jacob? Because all I've ever seen is that they put their work researching the numbers.
Yeah, it's in response to this comment.
Oh, okay.
Don't do their homework. Hey, the professor always does his homework here. So
This is a clown show, Jacob. You're glad you're watching, Jacob. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. These guys don't even do the homework before talking. That's hilarious. So you're new around here, Jacob. We'll certainly appreciate to have you return. But it's obvious that you don't know anything about us, or else you wouldn't say that. So welcome to the party, at least. Thanks for watching tonight. Movie Time Blues says Texas State has to find a way to cover the cost of travel. That's one of a few things they need to cover. That's not the only one. There's a few things that they would have to take care of. Certainly being the only school in Texas would be a problem, regardless. Let's see here. Friends call me Sean said it's not educated guessing, it's hypothesis. Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Friends call me Sean.
It's forecasting in the finance world. We're forecasting.
There we go. Bagman says I'll send pizza if Kansas is in the Big Two. You mean the P2? P2. Is that what you mean?
P2.
Send pizza. All right. Okay. All right.
It'll have to be to Ute and Nate. Nobody delivers out here. So,
Almighty Finn says, "Hey, Wild Ute, if FSU goes Big Ten, what about the insane travel for non-revenue sports?"
They wouldn't go alone. And these fine Big Ten folks that are very sourced and very knowledgeable disagree that it's, I mean, I don't know the percentage you guys would put on FSU and Big Ten. I still think that forget source and stuff. I just think the economics and the opportunity makes so much sense. That's the reason I talk about it so much. And speaking of this too, I was going to see if I can do a heat check on Greg, especially, and Mo, and if you guys are okay with this. And,
sure, go ahead.
Hey, can we go down the speculation zone of Florida State?
Please do.
And I don't want to get anybody in trouble, so can we do a heat check and talking about a potential private equity deal? Tell me, Greg, if that's something that we can talk about or not. Just tell me straight up, because I want to come up with a theory. Are you okay to talk about any of that stuff, or do we need to avoid
a heat check on Florida State and private equity, or were you asking for a heat check on Florida State with the Big Ten?
It's kind of one and the same with this heat check idea that I'm going to throw at you. Are you okay to talk about it?
I'm okay to talk about it, but
all right. So check it out. You brought this back. Okay, so put this out last year. I put a video out last year. Check this out. This was the 6th Street deal that was being talked about that never got done because of the ACC instability. When you were speaking about, the potential here, everybody knows that 6th Street and JP Morgan were trying to work out a deal with FSU. That couldn't get done because of the instability. If that deal were to reemerge, the theory last year, this is the speculation zone. This is not reporting anything. This is the heat check, okay? But check it out. So this was the idea last year, that Florida State gets private equity funds and pays out of the ACC. 2, and by splitting a deal structured in this manner and everything, this is exactly how it probably look in a structure. create a new business entity. We don't need to get into that, but basically get private equity funds to buy out to get their way into the Big Ten and support themselves. So that was a theory. That's a video I put out last year. Heat check it. Can we go down to speculation zone on discussing any of that? We can move on to the next one too.
Well, you got another
that's
one?
the idea with private. That's the idea with private equity.
Yeah. I mean, you got something. You go ahead and finish it up.
That's it.
What
That's
else?
it. That's it. That's the heat check idea right there. Use private equity from 6th Street. Use it to buy out of the ACC and get out somewhere else.
Yeah. Moen, you want to take that first? I'm trying to figure out how to say something.
I can. I think what the private equity was for at the time is different than what the private equity is for now. There you go.
Okay.
Wait, because of the amount? Because before the amounts we were talking
Well,
about,
I think
were
the
around
situation.
300
No,
million.
the situation has changed. I think the situation has changed.
I think the buyout amount
Okay.
changed.
All right.
I'm not
Okay.
sure-
Let's go. Let's do this.
I'm not sure that
We're in the
situation changed.
speculation zone. There's no reporting here. We're just
No reporting. Let's do this. Let's just do this. What the hell?
What the hell, Greg? Let's go.
Again, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. Not with sources or anything, but with fan bases and just people in general. Probably with even you three. But I'm going to go ahead. We're gonna push the envelope. Who knows? I mean, I might, anyways, so Moen's right. I mean, the situation sort of has changed, right? You have a cost certainty going on and everything. But God, how do I say this without getting just destroyed? The thing is, Florida State might be looking at private capital in a certain way that Brett Yormark's looking at it. Brett, people kind of fixate on the dollars, but Brett Yormark's looking at a future, at leverage.
Yeah.
When he's doing it. If he brings us in, it not just about the dollars to help pay the bills and to help retain a coach and rev share and everything. It's about trying to build a takeoff strip and a landing strip for the next iteration of the Big 12.
Yes.
So I think possibly that Florida State is looking at private capital in the same way, like to give them more options here in the future. Maybe to help pay out the ACC, but I think they're going to be fine with that. They can do that other ways. I think just in case the relationship doesn't fall out with the Big Ten, just in case that doesn't happen for them, just in case economic factors have it to where the Big Ten can't expand, just in case the SEC stops at 2 with North Carolina and Virginia or whoever. Just in case, I think Florida State's going to build their options out. And I think they have a very good chance of doing – not a very good chance. I think the options have opened up for them. Now, people are going to say, well, Greg, that means you don't think they have any shot at getting to the Big Ten or the SEC. I'm not saying that. But they don't control – and this is where a lot of people disagree, but they don't really control their destiny right now. Hardly anyone does, except for North Carolina and Notre Dame. And Florida State is a massive brand, so valuable. They're valuable. Private capital, talk to them. You're right. They're so valuable. They're going to be valuable somewhere. And it might not be in the Big Ten and the SEC. What is that other thing that might be built out?
Best of the rest.
Huh?
Best of the rest.
Well, and the best of the rest may be pretty damn good.
Yeah,
especially if they're the ones, especially if they're the ones taking the advantage of private capital and they utilize it and actually excels. While the Big Ten, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, we're just talking, right? But I think there
Thank you.
is
Yeah.
a reopening because Florida State they're not out of the ACC, but they've got the pathway out, right? It's clear, baby. It's clear. They know exactly what they have to do, and the ACC has to accept the check.
That was the purpose
just
of the settlement.
They do. The ACC, that's part of the deal. Yep. So the landing spots may not be open up for them yet, but their value is tremendous. And I think they're going to utilize that value. And there might be some other schools that might utilize their value in the same way. So I think that's all I'm going to say about it. You heat check, warming up with Florida State and something happening. Heat check on Florida State with the Big Ten. I don't think it's changed since June 15th of last year. I think it's not thawed. I don't think the Big Ten is. I think they're going to play this very tight. I don't think they're hungry unless Notre Dame calls them, and they might not do anything until. I mean, North Carolina piece has to get resolved. So, and that might be a few years from now. Who knows? But this whole private capital thing is one big.
Well, it's a nothing right
Well,
now.
Well,
because
it's a nothing.
yet.
It's a nothing. But God, how do I say this? You know, you've got private capital out there. If Wild you could explain this 20,000 times better than I could. You got private capital out there that's seeing that everything's so undervalued, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, private capital is looking at Florida State as being incredibly undervalued. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like something is going to happen. I don't know what the hell it's going to be, but that line, I think there's something percolating out there, and I think Florida State's a beachhead. And if Florida State doesn't get the nod, they're going to create their own beachhead. I think the future is wide open for Florida State. I don't think it. I've often said they're going to get to where they need to get to no matter what, because they're too damn valuable not to get there. It might not just be in the way that people think.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say.
I think the evidence for that too is the lack of the private capital deal, guys. Like, you want to see who's playing their cards. If you won't commit long term to Big 12 and sign basically a double gore down, because private capital would make so much sense. It would lift that conference like nothing. Seriously, private capital is a no-brainer if everybody's all in and committed and doubled down. But if you can't get everybody to double down, that's telling you something. That's big information, actually. And so there's your evidence right there. If private capital doesn't get done, a best of the rest conference could certainly form, guys. 100%. That makes sense to consolidate schools to get more money.
Okay, so it could. But it's awfully difficult, right? Because you're not going to have a commissioner directing it, right? You're not going to be having somebody. But the same theory out there, Moen, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably off my cheese has probably slipped off my cracker. But the people who keep talking about the Super League and this money coming in, right? And how this is going to form. It could form, but it might form without the Big Ten and the SEC. There might be another umbrella. There might be something that if schools are undervalued, if people think they're undervalued, if we think we can get 72 teams up to a certain amount, well, what stops us from thinking that there ain't a possibility of getting this other 32 teams or 20 teams, whatever, this other entity outside of the Big Ten to lift them up, right? If people think Florida State is incredible, BYU, unbelievable international fan base, undervalued, right? Utah, these schools, if they might come together and say, screw this, we're gonna break away our yoke, and and Florida State might be that beachhead if they don't get into the Big Ten and the SEC. There's always that possibility. I think that possibility is bigger than this 72 Super League. Like, there could be this other thing that forms. I don't know. Speculation zone, baby.
We like speculation. So let's get to a couple more things, and then we're going to close this show out. First of all, I'm quickly going to get to a super chat here from College Football Express and our friend, the Mighty Flow, Miami Flow, and also Rock and Rant. They have a combined show. They started this new channel. Friday watching something you think sucks. That's funny. Somebody
Hi,
was commenting
genetics.
earlier.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
That's who that was too.
I got some
all
Swedish
down.
meatballs for you here, buddy.
And then the last thing, and I want to go around the horn. We started this show and we didn't really talk about it a bunch because I think we can pretty much put paid to this storyline, at least for the near future. Doesn't mean we can't come back later to it, but is there any chance any one of us sees that a Tulane, USF, a Memphis are really in the cards still for a Pac-12? Because in my opinion, I don't think they are. They should have been done a long time ago, didn't get done, and now I think with the ACC instability, that ship has sailed. What do you guys think about that?
Extremely unlikely. I'm with you.
I don't.
Go ahead, Greg.
The AAC just did some more revenue sharing stuff
They
to
did.
where that you're going to eat more, so I think that's all towards Memphis, and I don't know how you could. Memphis ain't going out there, so if they're not going out there, Tulane's not going. I don't see it. I'd be shocked.
Moen?
Just another example of the Pac-12 just completely shooting themselves in the foot. They should have made the best offer possible when they made their first offer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not doing that has allowed the AAC to counter and make Memphis and Tulane richer programs for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I hate to do a sort of post-mortem on something like this because we're a show. We go for clicks. We do want people to watch our programs, but you're not going to get much more clickbait, certainly out of our channel, based on any of those schools coming over to the Pac-12. I think that is done and dusted. And things could change in 6 months. We might be back having this conversation, but if you're watching right now and you're a USF fan, a Tulane fan, or a Memphis fan, I think you guys have a brighter future, and it probably has the letters ACC in front of it. And I don't see a reason that you guys need to look west any longer. So let's go around the horn. Greg, tell everybody where to find your stuff and what you got coming up.
You can find me at Flug Empire on X and College Football Peek Around the Corner, YouTube. We're getting ready for this incredible week. It's going to be crazy. April 7th, April 8th, April 9th is going to be stuff going on. April 7th is Judge Wilkins. 8th and 9th is going to be people going to the Capitol Hill. So there's going to be a lot of action. Keep your head on a swivel. It's going to be a very busy week. I think the whole month of April, I think if this Judge Wilkins basically signals that there is going to be an approval of this settlement, even if she doesn't officially do it Monday, and if we get an idea that's like 3 weeks from now or whatever,
right?
I think this is going to open the door for so many other things to follow. The possible Big 12 capital deal, college football playoff settlement, maybe more serious talks between Baby Blue and SEC and all this other stuff that we're kind of just sitting waiting. This has to happen first.
Right.
Even the Big 10 capital deal, maybe everything probably follows this. So Monday's a big day, guys.
Okay. Moen.
First off, I'd like to give that up to Greg. Got your little Goaty Gopher dancing action there since Bucky Badger was on earlier. So now I have met all the FCC requirements for equal time. I would say, 7th is a huge day in college football history. We'll see if that bad boy gets through the judge's fingers. You going to do a live stream during that whole deal, Greg?
No, because it's going to be 7 hours.
Okay.
And I think there's only, and I read something like there's only going to be like 1,000 people going to be accepted into the Zoom call that you can do it. So it's going to be reporters and everything. And no, I'm not going to. By the way, one other thing that's going to happen on April 7th, Nathan, I know you're interested in it. Mullen's going to shake his head at me. Also on April 7th, Nathan, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 videos, 1 or 2 images of a jellyfish up in the sky flying.
You think so?
It's coming out. Skywatcher. They did it. It's purple in color, maroon with metallic. Anyways, look.
Why on those dates?
Huh?
Why on those dates?
It's happening in April. It's been videoed. It's been imaged by Skywatcher, the scientists.
Okay.
It's being released April 7th. So April 7th is a big day in many, many ways. Sorry, Mom.
Right.
Go ahead, sir. I really interrupted you once again. I apologize for the second time.
Coming at you live from the kingdom of Nye. It's Greg Flugaur on Coast to Coast AM. No, I don't have anything else. Go ahead, you. Go ahead, Nate.
You go ahead.
Thursday, crowning the ideal big candidates for members only. Moan's putting this one on. I'll be on with him, talking about the best candidates in the Big Ten, well, for the Big Ten that are out there outside of the P2. Moan, do you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, I believe there's 16 total candidates. You will want to tune in for that. I have covered all the bases I could think to cover from a comparative study standpoint. It will be interesting. You will learn something. You will enjoy yourself. You will tune in. You will tune in. You will tune in.
All right. And I will just say thanks everybody for being here tonight. I'll leave you with this last super chat from Becky Go Husky, $2 super chat, saying, so you can do research. I guess that's in reference to something. I don't know what. Without context, Becky, I'm not sure what you were saying, but yes, we are here so you can do research. So it all counts. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Catch Sunday night, Mowing After Dark. And Tuesday or Wednesday next week, I've got a couple of big interviews coming up. I'm trying to get them scheduled. So I would just tell everybody keep their ears to the ground. Follow us on Twitter, and you'll know when those interviews we're going to be breaking. Mo, what time you on Sunday night?
We're on Sundays at 7 p.m.
Okay. All right. Everybody else, thanks for being here. Appreciate even those people that don't think you should be here. I don't know why you're not spending time with your wife or whatever, but thanks for being here anyway. We appreciate y'all. Greg, thanks for showing up. We appreciate you as always. Great to see you.
Okay.
Everybody else have a great weekend. Travel safe and stay out of trouble. We'll talk to you later. Peace out.